In deze video gaan we kijken naar Jerry Wise en hij laat je zien hoe jij als kind in een narcistische omgeving bent opgegroeid en hoe ze jou hebben wijsgemaakt dat het normaal is. Waarom is dit belangrijk? Omdat dit ook de situatie is geweest bij jouw partner met wie jij die kinderen hebt. Dit kan ook goed zijn om te laten zien aan een kind die in deze situatie zit.
In this video, I want to talk to you today about kinds of emotional abuse you grew up believing was normal. When we grow up in very dysfunctional families, such as narcissistic families, abusive families, chemically dependent families, borderline families, sociopathic families, when we grow up with families that have real problems, that are difficulties, we then end up believing the abuse is a normal way to live. Number one, verbal abuse. And there are 12 of these I want to share with you. You get verbally abused, constant criticism, insults, belittling, comments from parents or caregivers, and that happens day in, day out. That's normal. And so when we become adults, we generally kind of expect that. Or when it does happen to us, we don't set boundaries for it. We simply accept it as that's how some people behave, just like in my family. And we don't set up boundaries. We don't resist it. We just don't like it. But we see it as normal or something that just people do. Number two, gaslighting.
Dus voor jouw kinderen. Heel belangrijk dat jij ze dus leert om grenzen te stellen. Dus het hoef je niet te doen van, oh, jouw andere ouder die doet dit. Nee, jij kan zeggen. Dit gaat op van alle relaties. Kinderen waar ze mee spelen. Andere volwassenen. Leer ze grenzen stellen. Weet je niet hoe? Daar zijn boeken over. Het is jouw taak om ze dat te leren.
We find this manipulative tactic used by dysfunctional families to doubt our own feelings, our thoughts, and our reality. Narcissists and very dysfunctional parents will use that, or other family members, even siblings, will use that so that we will doubt ourselves. And I believe gaslighting is abusive when it comes to children. It is really a mental abuse. It's not just not telling the whole truth. Lies can be very abusive and very painful. So it's not just like, oh, I didn't tell you all the truth. Well, sometimes that's very important because if you're doing it to mess up somebody's head or to manipulate them in some way, that's abusive. Manipulation is abuse. And so gaslighting is one of those things. We grow up, we become adults, and we go, well, people gaslight. And so when someone's gaslighting to me, I often don't point it out, or I don't see it as all that abnormal. I don't like it, or I may be upset if I find out that's what was happening, or if I realize that's not my reality, but, you know, it never was my reality growing up. It's just a normal thing that happens.
Dus waar gaat het mis? Ik hoorde een verhaal van een meisje. En haar moeder werd heel vaak woedend. Een kenmerk van mensen met die persoonlijkheidsstoornis is, ze kunnen op een of ander moment kunnen ze van heel blij en opeens heel woedend zijn, zonder niks, zonder iets. En die moeder zei op een gegeven moment, die zei van, ik ben niet, althans ik ben gewoon normaal boos. Maar ze werd extreem boos. En ik ben niet woedend, ik ben gewoon geïrriteerd. En dat meisje dacht, die raakte er helemaal van in de stress, in de war. En want zij ervaarde boosheid, woede. Ik heb dat zelf met mijn moeder ook meegemaakt. Die kon opeens heel boos worden. Die maakte geen excuus. Die was gewoon boos. En die vond het allemaal terecht. Maar wat gebeurt er dan bij een kind met de intuïtie? De intuïtie zegt van, dit is niet goed. Dit is niet oké. Maar die moeder in dit geval, die zei, nee, dit is wel oké. Om daar te kunnen blijven leven, moest dat meisje dus psychologisch dat allemaal wegdrukken en dat oké maken om te kunnen overleven.
Number 3, emotional neglect. If we don't feel loved and if we are not validated and affirmed by our parents or caregivers, then we don't feel a sense of self-love and develop that self-love that we need. So then we become adults and emotional neglect just seems like the norm. That's what everybody does. That's what everybody's going to do. And so when they do it, I may not like it again. It may feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't really ring my fire alarm. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make is when these things happen that happen to us as kids, it doesn't ring a fire alarm. It basically is just a little nudge. And then we just kind of ignore the nudge.
Dus dit is ook meteen de reden waarom jij een relatie hebt gehad met een ouder met een persoonlijkheidsstoornis. Je bent zo opgevoed. Dus je zag het niet eens. Dit staat jouw kinderen ook te wachten als jij ze dit niet gaat leren.
Conditional love. When we grow up in a narcissistic home, feeling loved only when we're meeting specific expectations or conditions that are set by parents. Conditional love is abusive. You don't trade love for behavior when it comes to kids or someone that you love. I think that's how parents love. And they've even said, no matter what my son or daughter will ever do, I will never stop loving them. That doesn't mean I will agree with everything they do. It doesn't mean they shouldn't have their own consequences if they have misbehaved, broken the law, been inappropriate. Well, there are consequences for that, but that doesn't mean I would draw my love from them. And so conditional love is what we learned as a norm growing up in dysfunctional and narcissistic homes. And when we see that as the norm, we then assume every relationship is a conditional love relationship. I better get on board. I better be hustling for their approval. Because I need that love. So we show up going, what do I need to do now?
Ja, dus ik ben het hier niet met hem eens. Hij noemt het nu conditional love. Maar het is natuurlijk geen liefde. Dus de narcistische ouder die gebruikt het als een controlemiddel. En die gooit iedere keer nieuwe taken uit. Jij moet dit doen, jij moet dat doen. En die kan een blijk van waardering geven, maar het is allemaal schijn. Want de tactiek is om jou van je stuk te brengen. Dus dat merk jij ook met die narcistische ouder, waar jij mee moet corresponderen. Opeens allerlei chaos, er komen allemaal berichten. Je denkt, waarom doet deze persoon dat? En jij probeert het misschien nog op een logische manier op te lossen. Maar dan snap jij het spel niet van de narcistische ouder. Die wil, kijk, het is allemaal heel logisch als je erachter komt. Het doel is juist chaos. Het doel is om jou door allerlei hoepels te laten springen. Op het moment dat je erdoor hebt, ben je verlost.
And we spend our lives doing that. Number 5, parentification. That may be familiar to you, to some, maybe not to others. That's when we are forced as children to take on adult responsibilities or act as caregivers for parents or siblings. When we become the parents, but we're actually the children. And that's parentification. And it's our job to make things work. Here's a parentification. Dad is a narcissist and an alcoholic. He ends up watching the kids. The oldest child, who's not quite 15 or 16, maybe they're 15, and he goes to the bar down the street, and to come home, the 15-year-old has to drive the car down there, pick dad up, and bring him home when he's drunk. That's parentification. The child should not be taking care of the parent or getting them to behave well. That's not the child's role. And we are often put in that position to have to do that. And then
Ik hoorde een verhaal van een kind. Van een andere ouder dan. En die vertelde dat die verstotende ouder, die zei tegen dat kind: jij moet die vader bij mij uit de buurt halen, want die is slecht voor mij. Dus bij de overdracht moest dat kind dus die vader weghouden. Dat is een vorm van parentificatie.
and as adults, We believe that's normal. Well, I should just take care of everybody, even if they should be taking care of themselves. We don't see that. And so that, again, when someone's not taking care of themselves, we don't see that they're not taking care of themselves. We see that as an invitation for us to overfunction. That's what parentification will do for us when we're adults.
En dan ga je dus constant zorgen voor de ander. En dat heb je waarschijnlijk ook gedaan in je relatie. Maar nu weet je dus hoe dat komt.
Number 6, scapegoating. Being blamed for the family problems or conflicts, regardless of actual responsibility. If we grew up in a narcissistic home and we've been scapegoated, and you can be scapegoated in all kinds of different homes, the blame and responsibility will always fall to you because the family cannot handle that, cannot deal with that. So they must find a receptacle or a place to put their pain, their irresponsibility, their bad behavior, their ugly thoughts and feelings somewhere. It goes to the scapegoat. So then we grow up and become adults and we assume we should be the receptacle for everybody. Well, I'm a scapegoat-like person. That's my role. So y'all come and just scapegoat me. And again, it doesn't set off a fire alarm. It only just kind of nudges us a little bit. And we go, oh, I don't like that. But it's normal.
Dus het zie ik in heel veel groepen terugkomen. Ouders die te maken hebben met ouderverstoting, maar die blijven in die slachtofferrol zitten, omdat ze dat gewend zijn. Heb je er last van? Ga van slachtoffer naar, ja, hoe moet ik het zeggen? Neem zelf de macht weer in handen.
And again, that's my whole point, is this feeling so normal. Number 7, the silent treatment. Receiving no communication or affection as a form of punishment. And again, I don't believe going no contact is silent treatment, because you're not wishing to punish anyone and you're not using a withdrawal of communication to punish someone. If we go no contact or low contact, there are other adult, mature reasons why we're doing that. But the silent treatment, we believe we should just get punished. And that's the way some people will punish us. So we grow up, marry someone who might have similar dysfunctions, and so they will do the silent treatment with us. We hate it. It drives us crazy, but we believe that's normal. That's just how people do things, as they did in my family of origin growing up. That I don't like it, and I wish they'd stop it, but you know, that's what people do. And that's what people do to me. And it seems normal. Number 8, emotional manipulation. Parents using guilt, shame, threats to control the child's behavior. That's pretty self-explanatory. Emotional manipulation. Then we get to be adults and we find we are being emotionally manipulated by about everybody we know. Our friends, our partners, our boyfriends, girlfriends, spouses. You know, everybody does that. And so it, again, just seems normal. No fire alarm. Just, this is what happens. And I don't like it and I wish it would stop. But it doesn't seem to stop. Number 9, isolation. Being kept away from peers, social activities, limiting social development. If we grew up with isolation, no, you can't go play with so-and-so. That family's really a really negative family. And again, it may be a narcissistic parent who's worried about you getting or them sharing influence with another healthier family. And they don't want that. They don't want that competition. Narcissists don't like competition. So we'll just keep you here at home. If you're going to be with friends, you have to be with friends over here. And no, I don't want you going, other places or staying overnight somewhere or, you know, again, I don't want you to have that experience. You need to be doing our family and the way we do things. And so it limits our peer experiences and our social learning and activities. Then we become adults, and guess what? We feel like we're always living in isolation. Social activities may be hard to come by. Our social development may be difficult, or we have difficulty in our social interactions from that isolation we may have been forced into as kids. Number 10, enmeshment. And that's an abuse of sharing the self. And again, silent treatment's abuse, emotional manipulation's abuse, isolation is abuse, enmeshment is an abuse. It's a sharing of the self. We share a self with the narcissist. And it's unseen, it's insidious, and it's a strong pressure that we feel. It is an unconscious denial by them of your self. It's their unconscious denial by them of your own self. You have to share a self. And I talk about in the online program that I have available for you down in the description, where I share the super self, the family super self, and how powerful that is, and what you can do to break it, and what you can do to gain detachment, and how you can truly learn self-differentiation. Number 11.
Dit is dus wat jij jouw kind moet leren om een autonoom iemand te zijn. Zij zijn een extensie, ze worden gezien niet als een eigen persoon, maar als een extensie van de verstotende ouder. Want die heeft een leegte in zich en die ziet het kind alleen maar als een deel van zichzelf, die een bepaalde rol moet vervullen. Dus heb je meerdere kinderen, het kan zijn dat eentje de golden child is, die doet alles goed en die andere, daarmee is alles fout. Dat doen ze expres. Ook weer die driehoeksverhouding. Alles wordt op één kind geprojecteerd.
11. We are forced to be extensions of them. And that's the saying, I am me and you are me. You are me and I am me. The healthy statement is, you are you and I am me. They are them, I am me. Not you are me and I am me. In a narcissistic home, that abusive theory and belief forced us to be extensions of them. And I think that's abusive when you're an extension of a parent, because it is our developmental job as children and in parenting for us to grow up and to be a self. That's what is healthy. That's what is normal. Number 12, our roles. And I think roles and assigning roles are very abusive. It's the unseen normal. And that's where they may be the mascot, the golden child, the scapegoat, the black sheep, the codependent, all these roles that we have, and there are many more that you can have in a dysfunctional family. And again, those roles become unseen normal. And then guess where we carry those roles into? Our adult lives. So healing and rejecting and expelling those roles from us is very important.
Dus door deze film zie je eigenlijk wat jou is overkomen als kind. En dit gebeurt op dit moment ook met jouw kinderen. Dus vandaar ook, ik heb een serie gemaakt hoe red je kind van je toxische ex. En daarin bespreek ik een boek wat ingaat over hoe kan jij je kind wel op een goede manier opvoeden. Waardoor hij dus autonoom wordt. Waardoor hij dus grenzen leert stellen. Waardoor hij dus wel zichzelf mag zijn. En dat gaat je kind helpen. Dat gaat ervoor zorgen dat jouw kind dus niet opeens jou gaat verstoten. Als je nog in het proces bent. Deel deze video. Laat je waardering blijken. Zit je in Spotify? Geef even een 5-sterren review. Zit je op YouTube? Geef een like.